I'm going to record for anybody that wants to watch this back. But tonight we're going to talk about kind of like the getting started process of this. And I feel like a lot of the times it feels very overwhelming. And even if you've been doing this for a while, like I know Kristen's been a challenger and a coach for a while, but even just like if you have an off week, like how do I pull myself back into it, right? Or like even if I've had an off month where I've been traveling, how do I get myself back into the game, like feeling good, let go of the guilt? So I just want to walk you guys through a couple of different steps to get started, and then I'll open it up for questions. So we'll try to be off here by 8 because we all have lives and families and reality TV to watch, right? Okay, so the first thing that I really want you guys to focus on, and this helped me a lot in the very beginning, was focus more on what you're getting, not what you're giving up. So when I constantly thought about, oh, I don't get to eat Taco Bell anymore. Oh, I don't get to eat or have soda at work anymore. And I constantly was focusing on the things I had to give up rather than focusing on how I was going to replace those things. So don't focus on the things you can't have. Focus on the things you're starting to have. So the mindset is not like, instead of like, I can't have pizza anymore with my friends, which you can, and we'll get into that, or I can't drink a beer anymore. Be thinking about, I'm excited to eat these vegetables because I'm going to feel really good, whether I like them right now or not. They are going to get me to where I want to go, right? Or I'm really excited to drink this Shakeology, even though maybe I don't like it yet, which by the way, the first week or so, sometimes it does take some time. I know most people are like, it's amazing. But sometimes it actually does take people like a week or so to really, hey Taylor, to kind of get into the vibe and like really their taste buds, get used to it. So in the very beginning, focus on the things that you're gaining, not the things that you have to give up. Next, focus on really, really, really small things that are going to create really big rewards. So in the very beginning, I'm going to be totally honest with you guys. Like I struggled to like nail down a meal plan, like from day one. Like that was when I committed to my first Beachbody program again, after committing to like Beachbody programs 3 or 4 times in the past and then giving up and quitting and all that stuff. When I really, really did it like with a coach, with a group, with containers. Before that though, that was in like March or April of 2015. That January prior, I had started making really, 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 really small steps, just enough to start getting me confident to then start nailing down that meal plan. So some of the things that I started doing, less soda, more water. Like it's so simple, but it's just like if you can in those first couple weeks just do something like that, like maybe right now you're kind of in a slump and you're like, okay, but what's that next thing I need to give up? Maybe it's that coffee with the really sugary creamer, or maybe it's that nighttime snack or eating at work, right? And like having the donuts in the workroom. Like what's that one thing that you can say, I'm going to create confidence by saying no to this. So for me, like at my job, it was French fries because I was constantly walking by the French fries and I was constantly eating French fries. And maybe it wasn't causing a lot of, maybe it wasn't really adding up to a lot, but it was kind of more so like my mindset behind it. Like I needed to show myself I had more self-control. So when I went into my bartending shift one week, I'll never forget, I was like, I'm not eating French fries for 7 days. Like I'm not going to touch a French fry while I'm at my bartending job. I'm not going to do it. And when I didn't do it, I built confidence in my choices, that I had control over my choices that I was making with food. And it was just one little thing. It was French fries, right? And then in January of 2015, it was soda. Like, let's start with soda. And so really pinpointing that one thing that you can kind of like let go of, but replace it with something. So if you love the carbonation, get LaCroix. If you love French fries and you know you're going to snack at work, maybe for you it's not French fries because you're not in the service industry, but maybe it's donuts at work. Make some kind of Shakeology dessert ahead of time and bring that. So like you could make the Shakeology cake, microwave cake, which I have, all those recipes are available in the FitFam. But my point is, be prepared for that. Less snacking. So if you're somebody that loves that afternoon snack like me, or at night they like a sweet treat, that's when you want to have your Shakeology. So if you're somebody in the morning that doesn't get breakfast in, that's when you want to have your Shakeology. So even something as little as like adding in breakfast can really kickstart not only your confidence, but your results. And when you start to see more results, don't you want to just keep going? right? Because I remember in January of 2015, like just by making the smallest little changes, I was starting to get just confident enough to actually really look into the meal plan and actually recommit to a program. I know you guys are all committed, but you see my point. To take yourself to the next level is kind of what I mean, like to have the confidence to start to really push yourself. Okay, next thing I want to say is please do not buy the things and keep them in your house. We went through like a 5-day hurricane scare, and I swear to you, I was like this little like rabid, like chips and cookies. I could not stop. And I was like, what is wrong with me? And I'm like, oh, probably because these are never in my house and now they're here and I want them because they're staring at me. And when I open my pantry, of course I'm going to have a Cheeto cheese puff. Like, of course I'm going to have the kettle cooked jalapeno chips. And maybe it would just be like a couple every time I walk. But the point is like, if it's there, you're definitely going to eat it. So my advice is, a lot of times people are like, how do I give up the cookies and how do I give up the snacking? And I'm like, don't buy it. So I don't know if you guys have applied that yet in your journeys, but I really recommend stay on the outside part of the grocery store. So if you think about it, when you walk into a grocery store, now this is how to kind of not buy it at the grocery store. When you walk in, the outside is either like produce or meat, and then the other side is like whatever the one side isn't. And then the whole back is like meats and produce, and even like the fresh section, I get like fresh pasta salads or just like the fresh veggies that are available. Yeah, Taylor, oh my gosh, grocery pickup, so great. But if you don't expose yourself to like aisle 10 where the Oreos are and the chips and the Pepsi, you won't be as like, you won't want to buy it as much. If you just go around, go in a circle. Like the next time you go in the grocery store, I want you guys to like post about this in the Fit Fam. Just go in a circle and see how much easier it is to not buy the processed foods and the snacks. And then when you get to the register, do not grab for the candy bar. You don't need it. Okay. So I was doing that too. Like during this little stressful 5 days where we thought a hurricane was coming, I was like, oh, I'm just going to grab those. I keep them in the fridge. Well, guess what? I kept them in the fridge and I ate them. They were there. So just don't buy it and you won't be prone to eating it. Now, replace that with, if you buy healthy food, you'll eat the healthy food. So a lot of times, guys, it's not even like taking it as far as like, oh my gosh, I have to meal prep. Because I don't know about you, but I used to feel so much stress about having the most beautifully planned out meal prep. And I was like, oh my gosh, like it's not color coded and I didn't do it beautifully in all of my containers and my Tupperware, and now I'm not good enough to be able to meal prep and eat healthy, so I'm just not going to do it. Like, can you guys relate to that feeling of like, well, if I can't do it as perfect as everybody else, I'm just not going to do it? Well, newsflash, I don't really meal prep. Now, I have the privilege of being able to work from home and really kind of make my meals as I want to make them. But even when I was bartending, as long as I had the groceries in my house, I was going to eat that over buying fast food or buying the junk at the store. So I don't want you guys to stress so much right now over feeling like you have to have this perfectly set up meal prep. And we're going to get to that. And if you love a beautifully set up and made up meal prep, girlfriend, go for it. But if you're not OCD and that stresses you out and you feel like you can't get it perfect, so you're just not going to do it at all, the first step that I want you to take is just getting the groceries in your house. Like buying that rotisserie chicken, buying salad stuff, having the stuff for breakfast, and just really having those keys you can turn to. All right, I'm going to mute y'all just in case there's background, if there was background. Okay, so my last thing that I want to tell you guys about is to pinpoint your stressor points, okay? So, well, actually the last two things. So stressor points could be, when do you feel like you are going to, I don't want to say cheat, and I'll get to that too, but when do you feel like you're going to maybe have the hardest time sticking to what you're doing? Maybe that's during work. So like for me, it was the French fries. Maybe it's when you're out to eat. Maybe it's when you're with your significant other and they're crushing pizza and having wings, and you're the one that's like, I'm going to do the burger, no bun, with a side salad. Okay, so mentally, that can just, you might want to punch them. I've been there. But at the same time, just don't worry about being that person that has a different goal in mind than the person next to you, whether it's your significant other, whether it's someone you work with, whether it's a family member. I think a really important thing about this process is just knowing that what you want is okay. Like, it's okay to want to choose something different than the person sitting next to you. It's totally okay. And they might say a comment like, I think it's crazy that suddenly now in this world, it's like you're shunned if you're making the healthier choice rather than the person making the unhealthy choice. And number one, that's why we have this Fit Fam. So if you're ever in a situation like that, my suggestion is literally post in the group and be like, oh my God, I'm about to eat and I did this and somebody made fun of me. Oh my God. And we're all going to be like, girl, we've been there. Like, we understand, like, stick to it. It's okay. But at the same time, like, it's just really cool to own that what you want matters. And at the end of the day, it's kind of just like coming into your own of like, I'm not going to worry about what other people think of me. That's something that I'm going to work on in this process, because people will just sometimes disagree with the choices that you're making, but it's not because it's a bad choice. It's because they're probably uncomfortable with the choices they're making. So they're reflecting that on you. So if you know, okay, I'm going out to eat with my 6 best friends who are totally anti-eating healthy and anti-working out, and they're probably going to make fun of me for this, prepare yourself mentally ahead of time and just be like, all right, I'm going to do okay with it though. I'm going to be like, look, girl, you do you. I'm going to do me. Like, I'm still here to have a good time. I'm going to choose no bun, but crush my beer. And I'll get to that in a second too. If you're at work and you know that there's constantly donuts in the break room, or somebody's bringing something in that's really unhealthy to eat, or I don't know, whatever the case may be, bring something to work so you have your snack while everybody else is having their snack, right? Maybe that donut or whatever was in the break room. So know your stressor point for the day so you're prepared ahead of time, okay? And then finally, and with your significant other, I think communication is just really important, and not forcing them or expecting them to always be choosing what you're choosing. So I will say that my habits have definitely rubbed off on my significant other in a great way. But at the same time, like, hate to say it, but he's a guy and he's going to crush burgers and wings and really unhealthy stuff, probably more than I am. And it's probably not going to affect him, unfortunately, like it affects us, right? It's like, I don't get it, but they don't gain weight. So whatever. But we have to kind of, again, just like accept that ahead of time, right? Just accept that ahead of time. Like, that's probably what he's going to choose sometime. I'm going to choose what I'm choosing, but it's really important to communicate. I was really fortunate that kind of he came into my life when all of this was already established in my life, like my habits. But it's just important to communicate why you're doing what you're doing. If you're eating healthier, say why you're eating healthier. If you want to cut soda out of the house, say why you want to, like, look, I want this out of the house because if it's here, I'm going to drink it. And if you want soda, then get it on your way home or get it while you're at work. Okay? Or keep it somewhere that I can't see it. Buy yourself a mini fridge for the garage. Find ways to compromise, but communication is just really, really key. And it just, don't be surprised when they do it. Like, they're not trying to personally make you hurt them or personally hurt you by eating that stuff in front of you. So if you prepare yourself mentally ahead of time, I think that really helps. And finally, it's really important to plan out your treats. So I think in the first week or 2, 3, 4 even, like, a lot of times we think it's all or nothing. Like, I'll constantly have girls come to me and say, oh my God, I ate this. Like, what do I do? And I'm like, cool, that's great. I'm so glad you enjoyed that ice cream dessert at dinner. Or like, I'm really glad that you treated yourself to a happy hour. So my suggestion is, if you plan it in and it feels scheduled into your week, then it's going to feel like it's supposed to be there. Does that make sense? Rather than feeling like it's not supposed to be there and then it happening and you punishing yourself for it. So something that I've incorporated, and we're going to talk more about balance and working things in, how to stay on during a vacation. But especially in the beginning, it's really, really helpful to just, okay, like, look at your week. So I'm like, I have Bachelor Monday, Friday, maybe we'll go to a happy hour, or Saturday's game day. So I'm definitely probably going to want to have a beer or some unhealthier food as appetizers or whatever. So I'm going to look at my week and I'm gonna be like, all right, I'm going to choose, game day and Bachelor Monday. Those are going to be my 2 days where I have some wine, and then maybe, I have a little bit more off the meal plan on Saturday because it's game day. And then when I do those things, I'm not beating myself up for them because I literally made that part of my plan, right? And then on Monday, I'm going to save a carb for that wine. And then Saturday, I'm just going to drink a little extra water, make sure I'm having my superfoods, make sure I work out, and I make sure I'm having my veggies. And I'm telling you guys, like, those extras aren't going to matter as much as having extras, beating ourselves up over the extras, and then continuing to have extras because we're saying, screw it, I messed up, I'm just going to eat whatever for the next 4 days. Does that make sense? So I really want you guys to try to implement this week, and over the next couple of weeks, focusing on those 1 or 2 things that you can kind of cut out, but also how you're going to replace them. So if it's like less soda, more water, less snacking, Shakeology. Don't buy the stuff, which a lot of you might already not be doing that, but maybe you just needed that reminder because it's easy to be at the grocery store and be like, oh, 1 bag of chips is fine. Save those treats for when you want to have that wine on a Monday, or you want to go out to that happy hour on a Friday, or you want to, crush some unhealthy stuff on football game day. Save the treats for those memorable times and those social times rather than just when you're sitting on your couch hanging out and having chips, right? I always say chips because that's my thing. Pinpoint what's going to be stressful for you in your process and mentally prepare yourself ahead of time, or literally prepare yourself with a different snack or a different approach, and then just plan out your treats. So look at the week ahead and be like, all right, this is when I want to treat myself with this little dessert, or this is when I want to treat myself with these snacks. Was that helpful? Good, great. Does anybody have any questions? Or just want to open it up for any kind of discussion? Thanks, Taylor. All right, cool. Oh, sorry, I muted you guys. Let me unmute you because you were now. Okay, I unmuted everyone. Does anyone want to ask me anything on regarding those topics or anything else?
Can we use your ideas on some of our posts?
Yeah, for sure. So coach or not, and that's a really good question because I was just going to tell you that you can be a coach. You don't have to be a coach to kind of pass these principles along. You can tell your mom this. My mom just started implementing 1 Shakeology a day. And she just started doing really small things. At dinner the other night, they went to this burger joint. And that sounded weird, but a little hole in the wall burger spot in West Virginia. And bye, Kristen, it was good to see you, girl. So she was got so excited because she's like, I ordered the burger, but I did no bun. But then I had onion rings on the side. And I was like, yes, Mom, that's perfect. I was like, you did exactly what you should have done. You minimized the carbs a little bit, but you still treated yourself. And so she's down 5 pounds in I think 2 weeks or something. And she's really excited, but it was just over those really, really small things. So yeah, definitely take this, pass it along in your posts if you're a coach. If you're not a coach, and you should be a coach, but pass it along to anybody. Honestly, this is great information to just kind of spread. Devin, do you want to ask anything?
Oh, I don't know.
Oh, girl. How are you doing with your long work days?
Good. Just you were talking about the meal prep stuff, and that's one thing, if I'm not getting it all done, I do feel like I get discouraged. Yeah. But this weekend I prepped enough that I knew I would have a good start into the week. Yeah. And then I figured I could cook a little bit more as I get time throughout the week.
So that's a great point. That's actually what I do. So I at least get prepared, or sometimes I prepare Friday to get through the weekend, and then Monday and Tuesday, and then midweek I'll go again, just depending on, sometimes some weekends we have my boyfriend, some we don't. So our groceries look a little bit different. So I'll sometimes do a Wednesday through the weekend, or a Friday through the weekend, and then the next week. So that's a great point, because there's a big stigma that you have to meal prep on Sunday and it's got to look great. And that's great if you're doing that. There's nothing wrong with that. Like if that works for you, that's great. But some days I don't want a meal prep. I'd rather like go to the grocery store Monday, prepare a couple things for the next 3 days, and then for the second half of the week, kind of prepare the rest. So Devin, I think whatever you're finding is working best for you and creating the least amount of stress, the better. Because honestly, that's what this is about. And that's like the whole point I wanted to create these calls was I want this process to feel less stressful, because whatever works for you is what works for you. And that's what you gotta go with.
Yeah. I feel like I'm playing around with it a lot, trying to figure out what is best. But
yeah, that's good. That's perfect. That's what you got to do, honestly. And it really is just about kind of sticking to it until you feel comfortable. And, you know, time passes and there might be a time where you're like, oh, didn't do great that day, or, oh, didn't get my groceries bought. And then you're just going to show up the next day and do it. You know, that's kind of the mindset to have. If you're not perfect, that's okay. We mess up in a lot of other areas in our lives too. And we just show back up the next day, right? It's the same thing with our nutrition and our fitness, right? It really is. So anybody else? All right. Well, this was so fun. This is our very first little nutrition call. And next week, we will dive into a little bit more about like meals and kind of getting yourself prepped and prepared, and how, like, what that looks like, you know, week to week and month to month, and how to kind of navigate, because we're getting into the holidays. So we're going to talk a little bit about that as well. So definitely, if y'all come back, bring some questions, like, think about over the next couple of weeks, like anything that maybe stumps you, or an emotional thing that goes on, or a mindset thing that happens with food. Be on the lookout for that, because a lot of times what one person's going through, somebody else is probably going through too. And it's probably something that we can all learn from. That's what I found. So, okay, guys. Well, I won't keep you any longer. Thanks for jumping on, and we'll see you when we see you.
Okay.
Bye.